and I wanted to talk to him. So I just got off the phone with my dad. Good morning, good day, good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. All my East Coasters, hashtag Bahama time. That's what I think of when I think of the East Coast now. Great to have you guys here this morning. We are going to be working on something very exciting, something I've been wanting to work on for a while, which is fireworks. There's a new feature that I haven't really played with too much. I just started trying it out, I think just last week. And it's when you launch a projectile launch gizmo, there's a new feature where you can set the duration that you want it to fly. So you can say, I want it to fly for 3 seconds, and then you get an event when it finishes, and you can use that event to then explode a firework. It's kind of perfect. So this is a live stream. Things are going to be a little bit unruly. I can't just pause. Feel free to use the chat. I'll be watching the chat and all of that good stuff. I'm thinking, I want to make sure I've got this all set up right. I think I'm going to use my other computer for watching the stream, so that way I can focus this computer on being in the stream. So in that case, close. Give me a shout in the chat if everything's coming through all right. Everything looks good on my side. Heading to studio on my other computer. Going to the live streaming studio. And should appear. Go ahead and manage. There we are. All right. Live chat. Hey, Drew. Thank you. Thank you so much, Drew. Appreciate that. Yeah. I got a card. Thank you. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'll show this off. It's from my good friend Otto. It's a melon wearing some glasses. I mean, that's a pretty good birthday card. And it comes with a note in it that says, "You go, girl," tongue face. It's like the perfect card for me. I love it. Okie doke. Let's see. I'm going to close out of this for now. And I think we're just going to jump right into Horizon. I've got chat there. We're good. Minimize. All right, here's Horizon. I've been debating where I wanted to build this because I was thinking about adding a flash effect to it. But I do also want to make an asset version of this. So let's go to that new asset world we're building for you guys. That is called, let's see, Vidyuu Essentials template. Yep. I don't know how many more days are left of this competition. I'm kind of getting nervous, to be honest. So we'll have to see how this goes. We're trying not to do it too stressfully. So honestly, like if I wasn't working on this slumber party world, I'd be putting so much more work into this template. But unfortunately, the timing just did not work out well for our team. So hopefully, for anyone who was worried that Vidyuu is just going to take the cake, you don't have to worry. We're a little busy. So we have a very mild template world we're building, and I hope it has enough good stuff in it to at least impress the judges. We'll see. All right, so next up, we are going to bring out a concept. Oh, wait, I want to like pause there. We're in the world. I don't want to just get started. I want to really think about it. I have a pen, I've got a piece of paper. We could write down an idea. There's a lot of ways we can launch a firework. And the one that was suggested by my team was a little too complicated for this tutorial, but I want to tell you about it and just kind of explain there are a lot of options. So option one that they suggested was we have tiki torches. Take the tiki torch, light some black powder, let the black powder go sizzling off, and then firework launches, explodes. Sorry about this blurriness. There's no sun today. We have a cloudy, overcast day, and I seem to get... There we go. And so like that's one option. For us though, we're gonna go with the super classic player hand, enter trigger, firework launches. So we're gonna have a launcher someplace in the world that's gonna launch the projectile. It's gonna be represented by a cylinder. And then we're going to have a trigger button, so like a cube button that you can press. On cross screens, there's a way to set it to work on cross screens, so it'll work really easily for everyone. And I want to polish it, so I've only got 1 hour till my next meeting. My next meeting starts at 10 o'clock. I did tell everyone I might be late, so let's just try to wrap in 55 minutes, which means I can't get too carried away with like intricacies. So haptic feedback is something I want, sound effects is something I want, but I might have to hold those off for later. So without further ado, I think we're ready. You get the concept. So we're going to start by pressing a trigger. We're going to then launch a projectile. We're then going to explode the projectile. Okay, let's go have some fun. All right, so here we are, and I, in this template world, am building pedestals, and strangely, my pedestals are gone. It looks like the other day I was working on a terrain shade smooth tutorial, and it didn't go too well. So anyway, there's the pedestals. Pedestals are back. We're going to go ahead and grab this one and the text that goes with it and press Control D. Hopefully I got that selected correctly. It doesn't look like I did. Control Z. I hate that. It selects the inside object by default. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, that doesn't seem like that should be the default. I'm confused. Control D. There we go. Now I've got it. Slide that over. And this will be our firework. So I'm going to go ahead and name that firework text group. I find that on the desktop editor, naming is the most important thing. Fireworks text group. And then we go into the text. And then change that to be called fireworks. Firework launcher. And I think this is kind of an important distinction, is that I want it to be a utility that you can use. I want to explain that in just a second. So firework launcher, and then I just want to rename this firework podium, fireworks. Like, I've had a lot of time to think about this, which is why I'm so excited to like work on it. And one of the thoughts was it should be used by anything that wants to use it. So one way to launch a firework is to shoot up a projectile. But maybe you have another way to launch a firework, like you throw a ball and that explodes and launches a firework. Many, many ways to launch fireworks. And so my thought was, I want to make this a like function that you can call. So somewhere there's going to be like fireworks _ func, and you call the function, boom, you just tell it where you want to play the firework. And so I could start by just creating that, and then on start play a firework and just like fine tune it. I really like thinking chronologically, so we're going to build the like igniter, and then we'll build the function file later, because just that works better for my brain. But anyway, so just like that concept of like reusability, mixability, which is also super important for this competition. All right, so we got our firework launcher, and we know that I want to put a button here. So we're going to go to shapes, grabbing a cube shape. So I need a cube. Thank you. And that's pretty good, but it's pretty big, so we'll go down to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. That's starting to look more like a button. Slide it down. Where is it? It's a little too small. Let's go to 0.2, 0.05, 0.2. Now that looks like a button. Let's copy the position of this. Right-click, copy position, select button. Right-click, paste, slide up. Come on. Oopsie daisy. Slide up. There we go. And that is pretty solid. That's pretty solid. And you can really kind of go as intense on these things as you want. And for now, I do want this to be selectable. I want to see, how close could my hand get if I was in VR? Oh yeah, I can totally press that in VR. My hand could reach out and touch that. It's a little low for VR players. That's a bit of a problem. So what I'm going to do is actually Control D this and slide this up, and then use this to build kind of a black box. Also, notice the new feature when you select the color, it actually changes the color immediately by setting 10 strength for you. Love that. Great new feature. Thank you, Meta. We're going to change the X, Y, Z. No, we're going to change the Z to be 0.5, nice and wide. We'll get a 0.3 on this one. Give it a little bit of height, 0.3 as well. Now we can slide that up. And so we built like kind of like a black box that this will get mounted to, which means we can kind of just slide this forward a little bit closer to the user. And this will be the red button that they press, because obviously the button's got to be red. So we'll change that to red. Of course, the color selection is still actually trash. Actually, oh my gosh, actually trash. So, you know, things are getting better, but like, and like, what the heck? Never mind. We're just going to manually type this in. It's just 100. Seriously, I cannot believe how hard that was. Anyway, there we go. We got a red button. And if we imagine being in VR, you can see that we'll be able to press that easily. And now on cross screens, to make this selectable, we're going to go ahead and grab a gizmo, trigger gizmo, and that's coming along nicely. Let's go ahead and scale that down to 0.2, 1.2, and I'm going to copy the position here. Right click, copy position, copy position. The number of little things you got to get used to in Horizon that just got to try a second time, try a second time. There we are. Beautiful. All right, so now we've got our button ready to go. It's a little thick in my opinion, so let's go 0.05. That's looking a little bit better. I think I want to shrink it in just to a little bit, 0.15, 0.15, so it kind of is in the button. And then there's a button here called Selectable in Screens Mode, so we'll turn that on. Make sure to drag this up just a little bit higher. Distance seems fine. Triggering on players seems good. Now if we right-click preview from here, one thing to note is that when you preview right next to it, you have to actually turn around, then walk back, and then the E appears. But as you can see, super easy to press that from a VR, from a cross-screens user and in VR as well. Welcome in, Fear the Illusion. Great to have you. Good afternoon. So with that trigger ready to go, we can attach a script. And there's this amazing new feature where you can create a new trigger script. And so this trigger is going to be called the fireworks launcher trigger underscore entity. It's a long name, but it's very clear what it is. Fireworks launcher trigger. So, and why I like attaching from right here is because it creates a trigger script. So if we click edit script, you'll see that it's going to build us a default trigger script, which is so nice, so useful. We can delete all the things we don't need. So we don't need this line here because we're only doing player enter trigger. So I just hit Control X. It does set it up the binding way, so just don't do that on your own. But that is, it does work. It's a little more dangerous. We don't need this entity enter trigger stuff, so delete that. And then I prefer to name this player enter trigger, so I'm just naming it to my own preferences. And now we are ready to get this functional. Now there's a couple things that I want to do, which is adding first a property, which is obviously for the projectile launcher. Projectile launcher, colon, curly braces, type, colon, prop types, dot entity. There we are. And then we're going to need one other entity, which this is optional, but I think will be so fun, which is the button itself. So the physical button, Shift Alt F, or no, Shift Alt F, there we go, Control Save. So now we've got two references there. Let's go ahead and build these references. And I think for the sake of the argument, we're going to grab a projectile launcher gizmo, but I also wanted to launch it from a tube. So let's grab a tube. Here it is. This tube will similarly be black, so let's go ahead and darken it up. Come on, Horizon, do your thing. Do your thing. Please. Please, Horizon. Select the color. What? What? There it goes. I'm losing my mind a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. Let's go ahead and drag this one out. Get this nicely placed out here in the world. Somewhere where we can actually watch the firework when we press it. So right about there should be good. And then we're going to scale that down to 0.2. And then 0.2. Nice. F to focus. Alt left click. You can spin around and see that that looks pretty decent. And now we need a projectile launcher on top of it. So we'll go build, gizmos, projectile launcher gizmo. And we're going to need to rotate that 90 degrees. And apparently that was on the wrong axis. Oh no, it just didn't enter. There it goes. Wrong 90, minus 90. There we are. Let's go ahead and copy the position of this. Copy position, and right click, paste. Slide up. I've just realized that the scale of my VS Code is a little big. I need to shrink it back down so it fits inside the screen. Just fixing that real quick. All right, and then the scale of this can go down as well. Let's go to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Ooh, 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. Feels like we can see that now. Very nice. Sliding that down, getting that right into position, and that should do the trick. Now, this projectile launcher needs to be referenced. So we're going to go ahead and call this the fireworks projectile launcher. Very nice. And this is the fireworks tube. Just so great to have things labeled. You'll thank yourself later. Then we've got the fireworks black box, and we have the fireworks red button. Nice. Okay, so we got that set up, and then I don't think I labeled this. This is the fireworks trigger. Fireworks launcher trigger. Very nice. Okay, and then this needs to know about the projectile launcher, so now I just need to type fire, and you can now select fireworks projectile launcher, and the button, just type fireworks, and we have the red button. Very nice. So you can also drag them in. That worked out pretty well for us. I'm going to turn off world simulation for just a moment, since we don't need it on. And we have these two things referenced. So going back into our code, let's do two things. Number one, player enter trigger. I want to move the button down. So I want to know the button's origin position, and on start, I can save that. So I'll type button origin position equals vec3.0. Got to start it at a zeroed out state, and then on start we can define it as button. Come on. Sorry, my OBS somehow stops my VS code or from typing correctly. Button origin position dot equals, sorry, props. The slowdown really messes with my head. Props dot button dot position dot get. And one thing I do for just like quick error handling is just question mark vec3.0. Now this would be 0 if you don't define it. So this is saying if the button is undefined, we don't run position.get, and instead we just grab a vec3.0. And so you just got to make sure that you reference it on the properties panel, otherwise it won't work, at least not correctly. And then what I like to do is calculate this one time, which is the button down position. And the button down position should be down by some amount. And so we can say button down position equals button origin position dot subtract parentheses. And I think the easiest way to do this is to actually change this to add, so that way it logically reads. And so we're going to add a vec3.down. So we're going to down. And so we're going to add 1 meter down, but then if we dot multiply it, we can then provide how much we want to go down by as like 0.1. But let's actually go see in Horizon how much going down would actually work. And so if we go to this vector and we see, we want to make it look like the button's being pressed. So it's at 2.23. If I type 2, I'm on the trigger, oops, Control Z. And if we select the button, we're at 2.19. And if we go down to 2.1, that's too much. So 2.15, still 2.2. Okay, so how much do we need to go down? Not by much, apparently. How much is that to go down? Just like half. Oh, it's like 0.02. Okay, it's very tiny. It's a very tiny amount. So instead of 0.1, we do 0.02. And that should be the amount we need to go down. And this is not the most efficient way to adjust the value. But it'll work. It's almost tempting to show you the most efficient, but we're in start, and in start this runs one time. So it's just, there's no reason to care about efficiency. I was really focusing here on readability. It's like, okay, we're adding a down vector multiplied by 0.02, so we're going down by 0.02. Okay, so now when player enters trigger, we need to say props.button.position.set to the down position. Okay. So then after a brief delay, we want to then move it back. And so we're going to say async dot set timeout, parentheses, parentheses, and we draw an arrow function, curly braces, and we want the button press to feel pretty quick. In fact, we could technically use player exit trigger. If we do Control C, Control V, change this to exit on player exit trigger, and change this to player exit trigger. We then just need to delete this line of code. And so as long as the player's hand is in the trigger, it's going to be down. Unfortunately, this doesn't work for Control Z and Control C, Control V right there. Change that to exit. This doesn't work for mobile players because they enter and exit the trigger instantly. And so by setting this to the up position, or sort of the origin position, this will happen instantaneously on mobile, which is not ideal. So I am going to write in one ridiculously stupid tiny piece of code here, which is to make it take a split second after they exit the trigger to raise. And so if I type async dot set timeout, just like we were about to, parentheses, parentheses, arrow function, curly braces, and we'll give it, I don't know, like 250 milliseconds to pop back up. That's supposed to be a comma. Okay. And then clicking enter here, we can just alt arrow that up. So the player exits the trigger, and then the button is going back to the origin position after a quarter second. So on mobile, it's going to be really fast. But if you were in VR, you'd be able to hold it down for as long as you want. Then when you pull your hand out of the trigger, within a quarter of a second, it's raising back up. Let's go ahead and try that out. World simulation on, right click, preview, and I got to turn around, that's right. Turn around, then come back, then press the E button. Hey, look at that. Oh, that was a cool animation. It's really hard to see. Let me switch us to first person. If I select this, I can change us into first person mode. Jump into preview. Here we go. Running as fast as I can so you can really see it. All right, and boom. I mean, that's pretty cool animation. Can I press and hold? No. It just goes down and up. That's great. That is really good. Definitely feels like a button press. Obviously, it needs sound effects and visual effects. Might come back to that. For now, though, we need to launch a projectile. And the way a button like this should work is it should launch on player enter trigger. So let's just very quickly launch one. We say props.projectileLauncher.as, parentheses, launcher gizmo. There it is, projectile launcher gizmo dot launch. And the one thing you do have to know about launching a projectile gizmo is that the speed is, for whatever reason, not correctly handled. So you do need to manually put in the speed that you want. So in this case, we'll do 50, maybe 30 even. But there's one other property that I want to show you that's kind of my new favorite. It's called duration. And duration allows you to specify how long it can fly for. So let's specify 2 seconds. So after 2 seconds, this will terminate. So Control Save, and let's go ahead and try it out. Give that a clear. Welcome in, I'm so sorry, I'm messing up your name. Meliodasog. I am so sorry. I'm giving my best shot. But it's great to have you. Thanks for joining us. All right. World simulation on. Right click, preview from here. Pressing the button. Boom! There it goes. And it terminates after 2 seconds. Oh, that's a perfect spot. Good amount of flying time. Good speed. Like the trail effect. Could be a little bit shorter on the trail, but very nice. All right. Do we have a nighttime gizmo in here? I don't know that we do. We can change it to night using this thing now. Oh, I did. That's built into my other one. On my other one, I have a way to adjust the time. Let's see. We can improve this. Edit script. So if you weren't here for or you haven't seen this video, this time multiplier has a current time value, and you can do start time. What did I call it? Start time offset, colon, curly braces. Or wait, did I do it? We were using just syncing local time, which syncs to West Coast as far as I've been able to tell. So start time offset is type colon prop types dot number, comma, and default will be 0, comma, shift alt F. And then the start time offset is added right here. So current time is calculated. Current time is hours times 60 plus minutes. and then you wrap this in a parentheses, and you'll need a modulus after, which we'll come back to, and then after minutes you add to that with the offset, so you go props dot start time offset, and then mod the total amount of time in the day, which should be somewhere around here. Do we not have it? Increment time. There should be a modulus somewhere. Time of day dot minutes in a day. There it is. So we go to time of day dot minutes in a day. Perfect. So that's going to keep it within the bounds. This allows us to modify the start time, which means we can change it to nighttime. So that should be really cool. So now we can launch fireworks at night. And when you get this asset pack, when we release it, you'll have that feature. So start time offset. Let's change that to be 900 minutes in the future, which should be evening time. Let's give it a shot and see what happens to our skybox. World simulation on. Nice. We got a nice night scene now we can launch fireworks into. Very cool. Okay. So I really feel like it needs some sound effects, and it's so worth it. They just provide such value add, like, for so little. Control C, Control V, Control V. So we need the button tap or clunk sound effects. And we also need the launch ignition, launch fireworks sound effects. Okay. And Control save. So we got 2 sound effects we need to add. Let's go ahead and get those added first. Let's go to sounds. I'm looking for a clunky sound. I could swear there's a clunk sound in here. I don't know what it's called. It's kind of probably like large lever or something is what I'm looking for. Large door creak, large buzz loop, large wooden gear, large metal rattle, large waterfall. I've listened to almost every sound in here, which is how I know what I'm looking for, but it's also very tough because I can't remember. Button tap, button appear, switch button press. Let's try that. That doesn't sound like the one I'm looking for, but that'll do. We're going to use that. That's not a bad sound. Let's get it louder. Let's go to 0.8, 0.8. There you go. Volume randomness I'll set to 0.3, give it a little bit. Pitch randomness I'll set to 4. The pitch I want to be a little bit bassier, so -6 by default. Give it a play. Nice. That's exactly what you'd expect. Let's lower the volume to 0.7 and lower the randomness to 0.1. Play. That's better. That's more consistent on the volume side, which is nice. Pitch doesn't seem to do too much. I don't know what the pitch randomness is doing. It doesn't feel like it's doing much. Maximum distance I'm going to set to 40, and that's not bad. We need one more sound effect now that I'm thinking about it, but let's scale this down and put it in position. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and slide that down. I want to copy the trigger position real quick. Copy position, select, right-click, paste, and honestly could just leave that right there. Nice. We should probably call this fireworks switch button press. If we select the trigger, we can now reference that. Come on, gotta select that trigger. All right, button clunk sound effects is the fireworks button switch press. There we go. And then the last sound effect I wanted to add before I forgot was a explosion sound effect at the top. So Control C, Control V. So we're going to call this launch fireworks. We have the fireworks explode sound effect. There we go. Control save. And so let's head back over here. We're going to grab the position here, and I'm going to grab from the tube itself, copy position, and I'm hoping we can use Gen AI to get us the right sound effect. This sometimes works. I want this to be really short, just 2 seconds, maybe even less than that. We'll go to 1 second, and maybe we'll go to firework mortar launch. Firework mortar launch. I think I might have spelled mortar wrong. Mortar, and generate. All right, let's see if that comes out right. Checking the chat. Fear the Illusion says, I thought on one of the updates you didn't need to add the sound to the world to play the sound. Really? That's crazy. I have not tried that. That sounds insane. Would love to know more. I'm genuinely shocked that that's even. It doesn't make any sense to me because the position of the gizmo explains where the sound comes from. So I'm very confused by that. But no, that's really interesting. Oh, close. Better. Like, this is what I mean. Gen AI, sometimes, the killer. That's perfect right there. So give it a like, 3 dots. I need to save this to my asset library. That is saving. Give that a moment. And then while it's at it, let's just do one more. Firework explosion. Medium close distance. Large mortar firework explosion, medium close distance. I want the duration to be 4 seconds, and I want sparkles. Sparkles at the end. And generate. In the public assets, type search gun explosions, come up with short shot sound. Woo, good mortar launch. Nice. Good stuff. All right. That's a little too far. Oh, that has the whole thing in it. Interesting. Too far away. I mean, that may be. This is definitely the closest to what I'm looking for. Let's go ahead and save that. I am also going to go to sounds and just search for firework and see if I get anything good. I almost feel like I can smell the fireworks sound. Fireworks random. Here we go. What does this sound like? Firework. Okay. Let's give that a sound play. I mean, that actually could totally work. That is a pretty good launch sound. We could play that at the same time. Yeah, I mean, oh man, that's not bad. Let's go to 0.8, distance 120, pitch randomness 4. See what that sounds like. Okay, that seems good. Going to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and then we'll call this fireworks random launch sound effects. There we go. Copy position, paste. There we are. All right, I'm going to put that right about there, and we'll go ahead and tie that in. It's not a bad one. I like that quite a lot. Launch sound effect, fireworks, random launch sound effect. Okay, so the explosion sound effect we don't have. I'm just going to go and check the sounds here for explosion because I wasn't loving what I got. I probably should have typed explosion. Let's try a few of these. Because this is so bad, I just need to pull them all out, and then explosion with smoke. That's interesting. Let's try these as well. Because once I close this, I won't be able to play them, so I'm just pulling out everything and going to see which one we like. I saw some messages in my peripheral vision coming in chat. Sorry, I haven't had a second to think. Too much like a gun. I mean, I was going to say it's too much like a gun, but that's literally what fireworks sound like. Oh, that's it right there. Explosion 1. See what the last one is? Oh, I mean, we could randomize these. So this is one of the things that we've been kind of talking about a lot on our team is like, for sound effects, especially, why not do all of them? Okay, not that one. Sure, that one. Too much. Let's see. That's not bad. Okay, I think we've got a good selection here with these 5. It's a lot for sure, don't get me wrong, but we're gonna build a quick script that's gonna be so useful. So I'm gonna just show my camera for a second. So we're used to just seeing one sound effect, but I'm gonna show you how I make an array of sound effects and we choose them at random. Okay, before I do that, I see a ton of messages, so I just want to quite quickly read through here. Has the crackle? I know, some of them were decent, but it was just, I would have had to time it. That was the part that I didn't like. Is like, say I wanted to build a randomizer to the duration. Like, I mean, I could have asked for more, and you can. Like, but we're also making a video, right? And there's just like time constraints. So when you're like working and you have hours, and I've got a meeting in 25 minutes, I'm like, where's my watch? You know, but like, when you have more time, you can definitely come in. And I think that's also part of the fun of it, right? Like, this is a remixable asset, so when you guys get your hands on this, and I do apologize, we won't be releasing these until after the competition. Like, we're gonna release it as part of the competition. So we just want to, like you saw with the day time thing, like we're gonna keep fine tuning it, getting it a little bit better until it's ready for release. Okay. Oh, I see. Sorry. No, all good. Let's see. Bottle rocket, pitch better. There's cannon and rocket launcher sounds in public assets. Time between crackle and boom. Yeah, exactly. That is it. All right, so let's go build this thing. So just to recap, the next thing we're going to build is a script that goes on the sound gizmo, and then you attach that script to all of the sound gizmos, and then it adds itself to an array, and that array we can then choose one from random from. If you've never done this before, I do this literally all the time. And when I say I do this all the time, this is going to sound weird. I assign it to one of the interns to do all the time. Okay, I'm done. Oh boy. But if I didn't have these awesome people working with me, I would be doing this all the time. It's so good. It's so, so good. So first of all, these are all fireworks explosions. Fireworks. SFX. I think I'm going to try and copy this so I can just paste it at the beginning. Control C and paste. SFX. I'll just keep doing that. This will make them easy to search for, or just at least unify them a little bit. So when I look at them on the hierarchy, I know what I'm looking at. Control V, SFX, and last but not least, Control V, SFX. Very nice. Okay, so with those all in, the next thing we need to do is create a script. We'll just attach a script right here because it's quick and easy. I want this to match everything else that's going to be related to. And you remember, I was telling you that we're going to build a utility for fireworks. So that's going to just be called fireworks underscore, and I just keep debating whether I capitalize the W in fireworks. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to. Fireworks underscore, this is a sound effects, fireworks sound effects underscore entity, and create and attach. While that's creating, we need to create fireworks sound effects data file. So we're going to go to scripts, create a brand new script from this plus symbol, fireworks sound effects underscore data. We'll see that in VS Code in just a moment. And also I wanted to lowercase this so that it matches. I just can't deal with it being uppercase any longer. Right click, rename, remove the W. It's a mistake, not perfect. Renaming, and fortunately when I rename it from there, it should have taken care of it on the trigger as well. So yeah, trigger is still good. Okay, these sound effects, I don't know where to put them. I'm thinking I'm going to put them right here next to this. So I'm going to grab this sound effects position, right click, copy position, and then I'm going to paste here, drag that over, and then scale it down to 0.1, 0.1, 0.1, and then utilizing this position, I'm going to place all of the others there. And I'm also going to copy the scale and paste the scale on all 4 of these. So if I click, control click, oops, try again, control click, control click, control click, control click, right click and paste, and then position, right click and paste. We should have those in the wrong position apparently. Slide those up. Don't know where they are. Let's at least get them into view. There we go. What are you guys doing over there? How did you even get there? I don't know. All right, let's try this again. copy position, right click and paste, slide up, right click and paste, slide up, right click and paste, slide up, right click and paste, and slide up. Okay, there we go. So we got our sound effects, and we do want to make sure they all have the script attached. I don't know if I can actually do this all at once. So this one has the script attached, so we'll click Control, Control. Yeah, you can't attach scripts at the same time, which is an unfortunate miss. Let's go ahead and Fireworks Sound Effects Entity, attach these all. Fireworks Sound Effects Entity, and attach script, Fireworks Sound Effects Entity, and one more, Fireworks Sound Effects Entity. Double check I got the right script on all of those. Checking, 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 and good. All right, let's head into VS Code and get this set up. So first thing we need to do is collapse the types. Open up the data file, delete everything in the data file. We're going to create a sound gizmo array, so constant explosion sound effects, and explosion sound effects equals is of type audio gizmo array equaling an array. So this is said we're creating an item called explosion sound effects. I'm going to put an S at the end, sound effects, and audio gizmo array. And then, I don't know if I like that, but that's fine. And then down here, we need to create, and the way that I like to do this is typing fireworks underscore data. So I mirror the name of this. So sound effects goes after fireworks, sound effects data. And that will be a JSON object that we're exporting. So type export constant. And there we go. Exporting constant fireworks sound effects data, JSON object. Inside this JSON object, we're going to include the explosion sound effects and comma. So now we can access this from everywhere, including from our new fireworks sound effects entity script. Now I don't like HZ dots, so I personally get rid of them. That is a personal preference. I do recommend you adopt it, but that's because I like the way it looks. So you're welcome to make that decision for yourself. Now, under properties, I do want to add one Boolean property. And then if I have any other sound effects I need to create that are non-explosion, I can, take care of that then. So we're going to say is explosion, and then colon, curly braces, type, colon, prop types dot Boolean, comma, default, colon, false, comma, shift alt F, and then on start we say if parentheses props dot is explosion. And in fact, we should actually put this in pre-start, and this is because it's kind of initialization stuff, so we'll move that up here. There we go. And then, what did I miss? Shift Alt F. I messed something up somehow. I don't know how. Oh, I know what it is. I need to put curly braces here still. There we go. I was like, what? Shift Alt F. And so if this dot props dot is explosion, then what we want to do is go into the explosion, the fireworks data file, fireworks sound effects data, dot explosion sound effects, and then dot push to add it to the array, and then parentheses, add this dot entity dot as audio gizmo. There we go. So that's going to add it to the array. Now, there's one other thing we should do, just in the off chance that it's already in the array, we should check for that. So we should say not in the array. So then we go to the fireworks data, and then explosion sound effects, and check if it includes this dot entity, and dot as parentheses audio gizmo. There we go. And as long as it doesn't, so we have that not operator at the beginning, the exclamation point, then we can add it to the array using push. Okay, so this is going to add all those sound effects to the array. I know that's a lot of steps, but we now have an array of explosion sound effects, and so on the fireworks launcher, when this explodes, we can choose one. And as we're starting to realize, we need to play that from somewhere else. So we should really do some tests before we get into that, but it does mean we no longer need this explode sound effects. We have the launch sound effect. We have the button clunk sound effects. We're ready to do another test, and then we can get into calling play firework at a position. So clear, and give that a second to finish compiling down there. It's done. World simulation on. Right click and preview, and pressing the trigger button launches. Boom. I didn't hear anything though, which is strange. Let's see, what did I do wrong? World simulation on, coming in, selecting the trigger, sound effects are referenced, fireworks switch sound, select and play. Seems good. Oh, I remember. I didn't write the code to play it. Easy mistake. So here we have this.props.button, and this is when it's pressed, and so we want to say props dot button clunk sound effects dot as parentheses audio gizmo, and then dot play. There we go. And then I'm going to Control-C, Control-V this because we also want to play the launch fireworks sound effect. So we got our launch fireworks sound effect, Control-Save. Now we should get that. Give that a second to compile. All right, taking a look at the chat. Whew. Thanks guys for joining. This is a fun task. We have about 14 minutes to get these fireworks popping. It will take that long. I have a meeting technically on the hour, so we'll try to wrap this as quickly as we can. Right click and preview. Pressing launch. Nice. This is where I'm thinking it's too fast. We need almost like a split-second delay before launching. So if we go in here, we have an opportunity to do, let's move this down to be with the projectile launcher. Let's move this up to be with that. And then we say async dot set timeout, parentheses, arrow function, curly braces, and then we'll just wait like 500 milliseconds, just a real split second here. And then we'll launch the projectile and play the sound effect. And that should make it feel a little bit more realistic, which is hysterical, because if this was electricity, it would be instant. But we're just gonna, just play with it. It's gonna be good. Just imagine there's something slowing this down somewhere along the way. All right, world simulation on, right click, preview, and launch. Oh, did that feel good or what? Oh, I like that. I love that. That is amazing. Okay, world simulation off. So, now that we have this stick in place, I think there's an opportunity here to double the size of our rod. We're going to double it up to 2 meters. We're then going to slide it down. And then what we're going to do is select all of these things that make up the rod. So these two, really. The sound effect is a part of it as well, so we'll grab that. And then we're going to right-click and create a parent object. This allows us to make a group that we're then going to call the launcher tube group. And we need to know about this launcher tube group. It doesn't really need to be collidable, so we'll turn off collidable and reflect light and shadow just to optimize our world a little bit. Although, someone might want to stand on it. Let's turn the collidability back on. Why not? And then here, when we go to launch, we're just going to need to rotate that a little bit randomly. So we'll go Control-C, Control-V, and we're going to look for the launcher tube. And then that tube, if we look at it, and we try to figure out which axes we want to rotate on. It's the red axis, which is the x-axis, and we go by 45 to the left. That's too much, so let's try 30 to the left, and then minus 30 to the right. And so we need to range from 30 to 330 is the values we want, which is a little bit hard to get, but we can do that. And so to rotate it randomly like that, we're just going to come down here for when the player enters the trigger. And right before we launch this, right here, we're going to say, do we have the overtime utility in here? I believe we do. We do have overtime. We don't have it in here yet. Well, I didn't want to do anything that would cause this to not work without some utility, so I'm trying not to use utilities. So we won't use a utility. We're just going to do instant motion, but you could replace this with the over time utility and make it kind of smoothly move into position over half a second, which would be amazing. We're going to say, I think we want to do it right here. Props dot launcher tube dot rotation, and then dot set. And then what we want to do is multiply. I think, man, my brain is a little bit quirky here, but I'm pretty sure what we want to do is say quaternion dot from Euler, and then parentheses new vec3 parentheses, and then we want a value ranging from -30 to +30. I also want to, oh, there's so much to do here. This is going to be a really long math line. Prepare yourself for a little bit of intensity here. So I'm going to type 0, oopsie. I'm going to type 0, 0, 0 just to fill this out. And then I'm going to put a little like error here and call this -30 to 30, and we'll fix that in a minute. And then right here, we need to multiply by the current rotation of the launcher tube. So we say dot multiplied by parenthesis props dot launcher tube dot rotation dot get. I'm pretty sure I've got the orientation of this right, and I want to explain to you why this works and why this is important, and then we can get back to just like seeing it. So the first thing you need to know is the rotation is straight up and down, but we know that if we go -30, it goes this way, we go +30, it goes this way. The problem is we need to apply that -30 or +30 at the current location, and I'm not sure if I got this in the right order. So we'll do some tests, but the goal is that if you were to move this somewhere else in the world and you rotated it, it would still do the -30 in whatever orientation you had it in. And so when you put a rotation at the front to be multiplied first, then that's the one that is applied last or first? No, it's applied first. You know what? I don't actually remember. It's very confusing, but the rotations happen in the reverse order than you'd expect, and so order matters. Like you have to, anyway, you'll see. Maybe. It's hard. This is not a class to teach that, but it's a tough one. It is a real tough one. So now to create this value, we're going to go ahead and start at -30. So we say -30 plus, and then parentheses. I'm going to say math.floor. No, we don't need it to be perfect, so we'll just remove that. And then we'll say math.random. And then we multiply math.random times 60, and that'll give us a value from -30 to +30, not inclusive of +30. And yeah, that should do the trick. So theoretically, what we're going to get is a clear. I had a funny idea in my head, but it would be, we'll come back to that. World simulation on. Let's go back over here. Right click. Did I forget to reference it on the trigger? I might have. Let's go make sure I reference that first. Trigger, reference, launcher tube, and that's here, the launcher tube group. Yeah, I guess I'll keep doing it this way. Launcher tube group, there it is. And now we're ready. Let go. World simulation on, right click and preview. And boom. Nice. It's so good. So good. Good starting. Good starting point. Okay. So secondly, we have these fireworks. They're launching, and they go for too long. So we set the duration to 2 seconds. I'm going to change it to 1 second. Feels like it needs to be a lot faster. Control save. The rotation's working, but the question is, if I rotate this, let's say we rotated this 90 degrees on the Y. So I'm just going to estimate there, about 90. We'll hit undo when we're done. And then we'll come back over here, world simulation on, right click preview. This should, oh no, it's in world space. So I have it backwards. World simulation off. Control Z. Control Z. I think that's right. So what we need to do is try reversing the math. Collapse this so I can see it a little bit better. We have quaternion dot from Euler through dot multiply, Control X, delete the dot multiply and this parenthesis, and then delete the extra parenthesis here at the end, and then dot multiplied by parentheses and paste the quaternion from a second ago and I cut it. Now we've reversed this and hopefully I got this in the correct order. Hopefully. Okay, so check this guy out. Rotation 0, 0, 0, okie doke. And then I want to rotate by 90 degrees. Let's make sure it works the correct way first too. World simulation on, right click and preview. Perfect. Now theoretically I rotate it 90 degrees and oh, what if I accidentally rotated the wrong thing? Like when I selected it, maybe I selected the fireworks tube and oh, maybe I had it right. Maybe. We'll see in a second. World simulation on, right click and preview. Oh, now it's working. So I definitely had it in the wrong orientation. You can now see it rotates based off the orientation of the original tube group. Very nice. Very, very nice. Okay, so now we can rotate that back. Sweet. Okay. Whew. It's literally just wiped sweat from my brow. Non-ironically, just like, oh my gosh, that was rough. Cool. So, next. We had a suggestion for a smoke at the end of the tube, which is a great idea. So we go to the, we know that the launcher is where we'd play the smoke. So we have the launch firework sound effect, Control C, Control V. This would be the launch firework smoke VFX, Control Save. And then we just need a poof of smoke to play over here. Now there's a lot of really good new smoke effects. So you go to Asset Library, switch to Meta Horizon. Come on. Switch to Meta Horizon, switch to VFX. And down here you'll find a bunch of smoke effects. And one of these might be better than the rest. Obviously some of these could be even used for the fireworks, but that's not what we're going to do. This one seeming like it could be a good one. Let's go ahead and grab that out. Move that into position, go back to the console. Let's go ahead and shrink this down. 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Typically these VFX have scale set from inside the properties. Oddly this one, oh right, I gotta select one. Smoke candle, smoke chimney, smoke fantasy, smoke S. Let's try smoke S first. Here's our custom effect property, so here's the scale of it. Now we'll hit play. So I just shrink it down so I can see it. There we go. I think that's a little too slow to release. It's a good smoke, but not for this. Excuse me. Let's try the next one, Smoke Fantasy, and stop and play. Also good, but not for this. Smoke Chimney. Not bad, but too slow. I think these are not going to be, they're not a, Play, stop. Play, stop. Play, stop. I think that's it. Excuse me. Sorry. There's something stuck in my throat. Okay, we're going to copy the position of this. I'm just going to deal with the thing stuck in my throat. So it sucks, but whatever. Oh my gosh. It's so hard. I just need, I have water over here. Let's go. I'm so sorry. It really is not great. I had banana earlier and I'm allergic to sugar, and there's a lot of sugar in bananas. I think it's finally catching up with me. But it just makes my throat do that. So it's okay. I'll be fine. Paste, slide that up. All right, that's nicely in position. The effect coming out of the tube makes a lot of sense. We needed to play it for a second. So we're just going to name this the smoke. We'll call this VFX, and we'll go to the beginning and call this fireworks. Make sure to spell it good. Very nice. All right, so now that we got that set up, we can then reference it on the trigger, which we have somewhere up here. I haven't tried clicking on it recently. Fireworks, trigger, black box, red button, trigger. There it is. focus, and zoom out a little bit, selecting. And I was actually going to show you that you can drag, because that's just easy. Okay, so now we got the smoke in there. We do need to write the code for it. So going back into the script here, we can then find right after this is when we want to play the smoke. This is starting to get a little bit crazy, and I really want to show you some of my utilities I've been building. You can download those utilities from the link in the description, but we're going to just keep this still for easy public use. So we're going to break down and say props dot launch fireworks smoke VFX dot as parentheses particle gizmo, and then dot play. The problem is it does need to be stopped, and that's where we're going to use another async set timeout. I have this really cool async utility I just recently built, and it allows us to add delays with, like, you can just create an animation sequence. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, we're not using it today. This does the same thing, it's just clunkier and looks uglier. And so we'll stop this after about 500 milliseconds, so you just get a little bit of smoke rising and then it stops. And so what we're going to do after that is Control-C, Control-V, and instead of running play, we run stop. So delete this line, change that to stop. Very nice. And Control-Save. Okay. So that should give us a nice smoke effect. But really, it's time for us to start exploding this fireworks. So pretty confident that's going to work. I'll do just one quick test. Got your smoke effect in there. Looking really good. Boom. Oh, it needs to be in the group to rotate with it. World simulation stop. So selecting the tube and then scrolling down to the bottom, dragging this into that same group. There we go. Good catch. Glad we did that. Glad we did that test. World simulation on. Preview. Grab that button and press. Yeah, nice little bit of smoke coming out there. It's really hard to see, but if you were close to it, I'm sure it would look pretty good. Might consider playing with the size later. We are now past the time of my meeting time, so we do need to wrap. We'll go extra quick for this next bit. It's gonna be fun. Okay, so we need a fireworks function file. So scripts, create new script called fireworks_func and create. And this function is where we're going to fire the firework. And so we're going to open this up. I hit the wrong button. Open. There we go. And we're going to delete everything because this is a function file. We just type export constant fireworks_func. And then that equals a JSON object. And then down below, we can play fireworks. So we say function play firework and parentheses and curly braces. Now to play a firework, we need to know where to play the firework. So that's a position, which is a vec3. And there it goes. And then at that position for now, we just want to play a visual effect and a sound effect. And so I just remembered a bug from earlier, but if we go into our fireworks sound effects data, let's grab a explosion V effect, Control-C, Control-V, and VFX, and then we'll go ahead and add that below here, explosion VFX, change this to be particle gizmo, there we go, Control-Save. And then going over to our sound effects script, we can now change this to just be called FX. I'll probably have to reattach the script to be honest. Is explosion sound effects, Control-C, Control-V, visual effects, and then add that here, sound effects, and then we're going to copy paste. And then paste, and then change this to be the VFX, change this to be the VFX, change this to be the VFX, change this to be the particle gizmo, and then Control-C, Control-V, Control-Save. This is starting to get a little verbose, and I would normally optimize this, but for sake of time, we're not going to. I also need to double-click this, Control-C, Control-V, and down here at the bottom, Control-V, Control-Save, just because I renamed it. Okay. Now that that is set up in Horizon, we're going to see that compile. We then need to select our sound effects over here, clear, and the script should have those booleans at the bottom, but it doesn't because it got unlinked, and I need to rename that script anyway. So let's go to scripts, fireworks, sound effects. Oh man, even the data file needs to be renamed. That's gonna stink. That's gonna stink a minute. Backspace, save. Oh, did that not save? You have to click enter. Rename. Backspace, enter. 3 dots, rename. Backspace, enter. Very nice. Okay, so now that we got that going, there's going to be a lot of errors because the names don't match anymore. So got to backspace this, backspace, go into fireworks function, no, fireworks, fx data. Oh, and this script doesn't exist, so it's, don't save it. It's like that script doesn't exist anymore because I renamed it. So we'll backspace this, and that actually takes care of this one, except when I come in here, I'm also going to backspace the S here, which is going to break everything over here. This is dumb. I should have thought this through when I was getting started. There it is, backspace that, and then Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control Save. Okay, that felt faster than right click and then a modify all, but anyway, for those who know, you know. Okay, so now this is ready to have both. Both booleans exist, everything's ready to go. Then this guy can play the firework at that position. And we'll get there in a moment, but first I want to go through these sound effects and get the script reattached. So remove script, attach script. And it's upset because there's some compilation error somewhere. Let's go see where it's saying there's an error. I don't see any errors. Maybe it's fine now. Attach script. Still upset. Still, oh, sorry. Oh no. Sorry, my OBS got out of control there. That's weird, it's not letting me attach script. Let's just go to a different one. Remove script, go to a different one, remove script, different one, remove script, different one, and remove script. All right, let's go to the bottom one again. Hey, that worked. I don't know why that worked, but that worked. Fireworks FX, fireworks FX. And then we do need to check the box for is sound effects. This is very tedious. I wish there was some way to automate this a little bit, but unfortunately I just have to do it 5 times. Attach script, fireworks FX is sound effects, attach script, fireworks effects is sound effects, fireworks effects is sound effects. Okay, then I'm going to run through these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, those are all good to go. And now we need the visual effect, which I thought we'd just use like a poof of smoke for now. And we're just going to go to the classic poof of smoke. So particle gizmo. Default is the poof of smoke, but we'll just select smoke poof. And then play. That's what that looks like. Let's shrink it down a little bit. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. But these classic VFX size does actually affect it. And then selecting that, selecting is explosion VFX. We now have that set up for us. Okay, heading back into VS Code now, we can now actually play those effects. So I'm going to go and I usually use my array utilities for this, but I don't want to use any utilities for this. So unfortunately, we're not going to use array utilities, but we need to know our current sound effects. So we're going to say constant sound effects equals, and then we go to the fireworks data file, and then dot sound effects, and we need to get an item from the array, so we need square brackets, and then that item needs to be a whole number, so math.floor, and then that item needs to be within the index of it, so we say math.random, because we want to get a random number, and then if we multiply that by the length of that data, fireworks data dot sound effects dot length, that's going to give us an item from that array. And yeah, that's how you create that. Now I have a utility that would have done that all for us. So you can get that at the website. In the description, it's the Google Drive folder, has all of those array utilities. So you can get random item from an array with almost none of that typing. But anyway, that's how it's done. We're going to then change this to VFX, and then change this to VFX, and now we've got a random visual effects. Right now we only have one, but for now this should give us something to work with. We're now going to pass in play firework, comma, control save, and now our utility file is started. This isn't where we're going, this is just a starting point. And then fireworks launcher trigger, we have to now know when the projectile terminates. And to do that, we're going to connect one more event. So connect code block event, parentheses, from props dot projectile launcher, so the projectile launcher. And then we need to verify the projectile launcher first. So we say if props dot projectile launcher is defined, then we can connect that code block event. And then from there, we can say the code block event we want to get for this specifically is the terminates. It's a projectile event, so just type projectile. And then on projectile expired, there we go. And then we're going to need to create a local method. So let me collapse this so we can see more. Scale that up just a hair too. Down here at the bottom, we'll type projectile expired, parentheses, curly braces, scrolling back up. We can now connect that with an arrow function, parentheses. We'll skip the parameters for now, arrow function, curly braces, projectile expired is called, and then we add some semicolons, if you like semicolons. And then over here we can see that it comes with a position, a rotation, and a velocity. So we type position, vec3, comma, rotation, quaternion, and a velocity, which is a, bring it to me, position, rotation, quaternion, velocity, and a velocity is, oh my gosh, I just had a crazy idea, is a vec3 as well. Let's go ahead and grab these, Control C, come on over here, paste those into here. I've just realized I didn't need to type out all of the, it's been a while. We've been running this tutorial for a while now. So right here, we do need it. My brain's running out of smoke. Projectile expired receives the position, rotation, and velocity. It does need to have these definitions of what the parameters are. But up here, when we send this through, we don't need these anywhere because they are being provided to us by this code block event on projectile expired. That's where we got them from. So we just needed position, rotation, velocity. If you hover over it, it says that it's a vector 3. It says that it's quaternion. It says it's vector 3. Those get passed in, which then takes those values, which we know it takes because we declared it. Okay, so now when projectile expired, we can now call the fireworks function dot play firework, parentheses, pass in the position, and save. Now the idea that I had that kind of got me really excited is if we change our duration to 2 seconds, Control Save, and then we go to our projectile launcher, which should be inside the launcher tube group. On our projectile launcher, we can change the gravity from 0 to 9, so it's roughly Earth gravity, and then it'll fall off a little bit as it's going up, which should be really cool. And the projectile color, we can actually randomize this just to be more fun. Obviously, definitely want to do that. Let's change the projectile pool size to the maximum of 16. And the trail length was too long, so we'll change that to 0.5. And all of that should be good. So now what we're going to do is in our script, we've got that all set up. What was I going to do? There was something I wanted to do. What did I want to do? Oh, change the color just real quick, just for funsies. Why not? Oh, this doesn't work super well because the player, oh man, when the player presses the button, it changes all the other projectiles. Like it's changing all of them at the same time. So you would need an array of projectiles. But anyway, we'll do it. It'll be fine. So we say props dot, and we're going to go to the projectile launcher dot color, dot color dot set, and we can set the color to be a new color. And if you do color dot from HSV, this makes it the easiest because then we can say new vec3. So you create the HSV using a vector 3, and the X value is your hue. So you just do math.random, and that's going to choose a random hue. And then after that, we just provide 1 and 1 for our saturation and value, which means it's fully saturated and fully bright. And control save. So now it's going to change a random color every time a firework is launched. Right now we're not limiting the number of firework launches, so the color will change mid-flight, which is not ideal. We could fix that by using multiple projectile launchers and using an array just like you saw with the sound effects. Preview from here. And boom. Not bad. And then we should get... Oh. What did I do wrong? Why aren't we getting the explosion in the sky? Explosion in the sky. That's so fun. Oh, that is so fun. Oh man, that is getting good. That's getting good for sure. They do fly for just slightly too long, but I love seeing that arc. So I'm thinking we go to our projectile launcher and we change the gravity to be a little bit higher than Earth gravity, more like 17, so we get a nicer arc. And we can go to here, changing the speed to be more like 35 perhaps. So it just goes a little bit faster, duration of 1.5. Hopefully that'll do the trick. Control save. Now the question was, oh, I forgot to, no, I didn't forget. There it is. Play firework. Projectile expired. What is wrong? Projectile is expiring. We're connecting it from the projectile launcher. The projectile launcher is definitely referenced. It's calling projectile expired. Everything appears to be correct. Let's go to the fireworks function. Oh, I didn't finish writing this code over here. Well, that would do it. That would do it. So just for reference, oh man, that is too funny. So normally, I have my Vidyuu utilities, which I keep referring to being in the Google Drive, down in the description. Please feel free to go download them. And one of them is like play sound effects at position, play visual effects at position. And then there's get random items. So literally using the utilities, I can write one line of code. It is array utilities dot play sound effects parentheses get random item, or array utilities dot get random item from array parentheses then the array, and that's it. That'll play the thing at the position that I want it. Well, there's comma position, but the point is one line of code. But without the line of code, we have to do a lot more work, and you're about to see it. It's a little intense. But for the sake of making this asset easier to remix and to use, we don't want to use any utilities, so that sucks. But definitely use the utilities. They're amazing. They'll save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. So we need to move them. So we say sound effects dot position dot set to the position, and then we do VFX dot position dot set to the position, and then we need to play them. But we want to play them after just a brief delay to make sure that they get to the location in time. So we say async, which we don't have access to. Maybe it'll be fine. We'll just play them anyway. Darn it, that stinks. But yeah, we'll just do, yeah, how did I take care of this in the other one? Sound effects dot play. See, it's control C, control V. VFX dot play. Why? This'll work. This has gotta work. I've definitely had it not work, so I'm worried. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Okay, everything's unselected, clear, everything's compiled, world simulation on, right click and preview, and play. There it is. They're getting too low. Oh, good thing we caught this. Good thing we caught this. Oh, I'm so glad we caught this. I made a stupid mistake earlier. Right here, we needed to save at the top the origin rotation of the launcher tube. So we say origin, so launcher tube origin rotation equals quaternion dot 1, which is the equivalent of a vector 3, 0. And then on start, we can say launcher tube origin rotation equals props dot launcher tube dot rotation dot get. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before, which is just to set it to a quaternion dot 1 if it's not referenced on the properties panel. And then down here, we were using the current rotation of the launcher tube, but now we can use the origin rotation of the launcher tube. There we go. Control save. Okay, cool fix. The other thing that I felt could be slightly different, the poof of smoke isn't terrible. Probably swap it out with something later. These sound effects felt almost too far away, so I'm selecting them all. Oh, it won't let me change them. We can change the volume to 0.8, so that's something. And the distance is set to 100, so it might be good enough. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. World simulation on. Right click and preview. Let's get some right click and preview. Let's get some cool fireworks. Okay, so because we only have so many visual effects, we only have one, you'll see that it's kind of failing to play in all the places. To fix this, all we have to do right now is just duplicate this. Let's bring it closer. And then Control D, slide up, Control D, slide up. Now we have 3 of them, and it is selecting them at random, so this error could happen technically. It's just less likely to happen. Yeah, they all played. And it's because I'm pressing really fast. Okay, so I gotta breathe there for a minute, and I have to like catch up with my thoughts here. We are 20 minutes over. Fortunately, it's the interns, guys. They're all here. They should be here. Hi, guys. Great to have you. Hi, Karma. Hi, Napster. Great to have you guys. Hi, Lexi. I don't know if the rest of them are here, but great to have them. Hot Potato, thank you. I'm glad you're liking the sound effects. That's awesome. And Fear the Illusion, great for the smoke effect tip. This is fun. We do need to build the next bit, which is just a little bit of math. And we're going to build it. Unfortunately, this is really pushing us over time. So we're going to build it fast. What I hope you guys will try to do on your own is play with the math to create unique effects. So you might be wondering, what the heck are you talking about? There's an explosion up in the sky, isn't that a part? And then there's other visual effects you can use. Like you could literally just grab a visual effect and place it. And you could make a bunch of random ones, just like you saw we had smoke. You could have a dud that's smoke. You could have something that's like a flash. Definitely could do that. In fact, oh my gosh. In fact, check this out. If we go and duplicate this, Control D, slide this over, the hit ring is a great one. Control D. Control D. Boom. And you know what else they have in here? Control D. They even have a firework in here. And that's not even counting all the new ones I told you about, like confetti burst. That'd be hysterical. And there's a bunch of new ones too. Anyway, the point is, you could use those, but we're not going to, because we're going to make our own custom firework explosion using projectile launchers, and that is why I'm so excited. So I want you to imagine the projectile launcher firing, pow, 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 pow. But it needs to go all at once in all directions, which means we need a lot of projectile launchers. Not necessarily a lot of projectiles, but a lot of projectile launchers. And to do that, we're going to create an array, just like you've already seen. We're getting pretty good at that. And we'll put that in the effects. We'll just make another thing, just like we did with the visual effects and sound effects. And then we're going to grab from that array in order. So we're going to use them in order. That means if, let's say, we add 10 of them, we could launch 10 of them. And then we need to rotate them by like some amount of degrees. So let's say there's 360 degrees. There are. And then we have 10 of them. That means there's 36 degrees between each. So we need to choose an orientation in space and then multiply, just like we did before. We can multiply, so take a random rotation, in space. We're just going to make one up. It'll be random. And then along one of those axes, we're just going to rotate. So sometimes they'll be in a plane this way. Sometimes they'll be in a plane this way. And should be good. Should be good. Should be just, it's just a little bit of math. Bear with me. It'll be fun. It'll look really cool when we're done. Okay. So now we've got to, I don't know, Hot Potato might be jitting. Hot Potato, it's great to have you. And it's great to have everyone, to be honest. I'm having a great time. I'm so glad you guys all made it out. Okay. First thing we need to do is go into our fireworks entity, fireworks effects entity, and create a new property called isProjectileLauncher. And then we can add another one of these lines of code, Control C, enter, paste, Shift Alt F, head back into our data file, Control C, Control V, change this to be a projectile launcher gizmo, and then call this projectile launchers. Oh my goodness. Projectile launchers. There we are. Now we can export projectile launchers. There we are. And don't forget to add commas, Control Save. And now we can close out of the data file. We can now go in here and change this to say is projectile launcher. And then we can go into the projectile launchers and verify that we're not in there. So projectile launcher gizmo. And then once again, projectile launchers. And then Control C, Control V. Double click selects an item, triple click selects an entire line, just for anyone wondering how I'm going so fast. Okay, so now that we got this projectile launcher added to the array, we do need to have some projectile launchers. So let's very quickly make a brand new one. The one we had before is not bad. These are pretty easy to make though. So gizmos, pulling out a new projectile gizmo. Where is it? Projectile launcher, there it is. Okie doke. Slide this over, boom, boom. Let's scale it down just so it doesn't take up as much space. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. We are going to have a lot of them, so that will be a thing. And let's select over, good enough. Okay, now that we've got that set up, I do want to note that the upward value is up here and the forward value is forward that way, so like we'll have to use look rotation in a little bit, but that'll be good. It'll all be good. Okay, next up. Projectile color, we'll set that dynamically with code. Projectile pool size we'll set to 16. Projectile size, we're going to keep it relatively small. Trail length we're going to keep small as well. I'm going to go with a 0.2 trail, so a really small trail. Default projectile is fine, static collision is fine, trail length, scale, 0.05. We're going to keep it even smaller. And gravity, we're just going to ignore gravity on these, right? I mean, we'll give it gravity. We'll give it 13 on the gravity, just in case it has an effect. But for the most part, they're not going to be affected by gravity because they're going to be very short-lived, like very, very short-lived. Okay, so now we need to attach the FX script. So fireworks FX, check that it's a projectile launcher, and then I said 10 of them, so Control D, yo, come on up, Control D, Control D. All right, there is 5, selecting all 5 of those, and Control D, boing, now we got 10. Perfect, those are ready to be used to make a firework. And our code can now use them. So we'll head over to our fireworks function over here. And our fireworks function is going to create a new function, which is going to be called function play flat projectile firework. And so I just want you to imagine that you could create other types of firework shapes and things and like go crazy with it. So play flat projectile firework, that is what we're going to call. And we will call that right here, play flat projectile firework. And so you could play anything at this position. Now, to play this, we do want to create a random rotation. To do that, I'm going to type constant random rotation equals, and then we'll type quaternion dot look rotation. So we're going to create it by looking in a random direction. So we need to provide it a forward direction. And that forward direction is going to be a vec3. So we say new vec3 parentheses. And to make it random from -1 to +1, we then, and I guess maybe I should try to explain a little bit better what a look rotation is. So a look rotation is going to create a quaternion. If you need to know what a quaternion is, that's a rotation value. They are in 4th dimensional space, which means this is 30, this is 330. It's a little confusing. So like you can go -60 and you're actually also going this way. It's 4th dimensional math, it's fun. There's actually a 4th value that I still don't understand, still trying to learn it. Maybe one day. But the point is, we want to look in a direction, and it's way easier to think about directions. And so let's imagine 0, 0, 0. Now let's go up and down is on the y-axis. So -1 is down here, +1's up here. We have forward +1, backwards -1, left and right -1. So if we choose a random point in this space, that can represent a direction in any direction. Now I do believe because it's a random point in space, it's going to create some priority towards the corners, but like we don't care. That's fine. We're not being specific. It'll be good enough. So with that said, we have our quaternion dot look rotation being created, and to make this, we're going to say -1 plus math dot random multiplied by 2. And I hate to do it like this, but we're just going to copy paste this. I would normally create like a helper function or something, but just copy paste, quick and dirty. And there we go. Shift Alt F. So now this is going to look at that direction. I don't think it needs to be normalized. Must be orthogonal to up. Should be fine. Yeah, all should be good. Okay, so now that our random rotation is defined, we can then use that to create the starting point for each of these projectiles. And so we're going to say for, and we want to do this 10 times, so parentheses, let I, which will be index, equals 0, and then while I is less than 10, and that means we have to have 10 of these projectiles in our projectile launcher, otherwise this will not work. In our projectile launcher array, I mean. And it's going to go up by 1. So if you haven't seen a for loop before, this is just iterating 10 times, very similar to a while loop in code blocks if you're familiar with that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is then use this to launch the projectile. So we go to our fireworks data file, go into our projectile launchers, and then we're getting the item at the index, so item I, that's going to represent our projectile launcher. We can save that locally for easier use by typing constant projectile equals, and I think at this point it's a good time to just write this, even though VS Code isn't going to say it's necessary, it should allow us to just verify that the projectile didn't come back undefined, like we didn't go out of index or something. And then we can say projectile, we need to adjust the rotation, so projectile dot rotation dot set, and this is where I get a little bit fuzzy, so I'm going to just try something and see if it works, and here's to hoping. So we've got a random rotation, which is a quaternion. So we take our random rotation, and then we're going to dot multiply it, and then parentheses, and we're going to multiply it by a new quaternion from Euler. I think this is maybe something else that probably should be explained. A Euler is an XYZ rotation, and quaternions are an XYZW rotation, so you can't really type in XYZW. You have to use XYZ, which is why we use from Euler. So anyway. And so in our Euler rotation, we're just going to rotate along the y-axis. So we're going to type 0, comma, and then we're going to take the number we said before, which was 36, since there's going to be 10 of these. So 36 multiplied by the current iteration, so I, and 0. And so that is supposed to be a vector 3. So I need to wrap this in a vec 3. So then new vec 3. Okay, so now we've created this rotation and we've set it. And now we need to launch the projectile. So then we say projectile dot launch, and then parentheses, and then we're going to give it some options. Well, remember that we need to give it a good speed, but I kind of want it to be slow. So let's go speed colon 10, and duration only for 500 milliseconds, so 0.5. Shift Alt F, Control Save. I apologize, my wife is vacuuming and my cat is scared. I'm going to open the door. Hang on. There he is. He'll be fine. Okay, so anyway, we got this launch set up, and that's it. The code's done. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm absolutely terrified, but let's give it a shot. Clear. World simulation on. Right click. Preview from here. Launching projectile. Darn it. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Think about it. Okay, we're getting our different visual effects. What did I miss? Let's go into fireworks function. We're verifying the projectile. Maybe the projectile didn't verify correctly. Let's do a couple quick console logs. We call play flat projectile. We definitely are doing this because we see it. And we call play flat projectile firework. We get a random rotation. Oh, we forgot to move it. I forgot to move it. I forgot to move it. I forgot to move it. Projectile dot position dot set to the position. The position we need to pass in. Position colon vec3. And then pass in position. Oh boy. That's such a silly mistake. Such a silly mistake. Okay. Hopefully that's the end of it. We'll wait for that to compile. All right. I think we're just about wrapped, guys. I'd love to do more fireworks today, but I unfortunately need to get back to my work. My work day. Nice. Oh, yeah. Let's go. Brilliant. Wow. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It worked. It worked first go. This is crazy. That never happens. Can't believe it. Well, it didn't work first go. That was the second go, wasn't it? Anyway, still, that's pretty cool. Couple quick fixes, then we're gonna wrap for real. Number one, these projectiles were just a wee bit too small. I definitely went too small on them because they're so far away. We're gonna go to 0.15, make them bigger. We're gonna make that trail just a little bit longer, 0.4. And then the color I want to pass in as a parameter. So if we go into our function file, let's get a color passing in first. So we're going to type in comma color colon can be either a color or undefined. And so if you don't pass in a color, we'll just keep passing this through. Control C, comma, Control V. We need to pass that in right here, comma color. And then if you don't pass in a color, we don't do anything. But if you do pass in a color, it says if parentheses color is provided, then I guess we have to do this up here. Alt arrow right here. One more up. Alt arrow right there. Okay. And move that around. Just trying to organize this nicely. Then we'll say projectile.color. That didn't work. Color.set to color. Shift Alt F, Control Save. And now we go over here where it's asking for a color. And we have a color. We made it right here. So I'm going to Control X to cut this out of here. Then we're going to save it as a constant. We're going to say constant color equals Control V. And then we can now pass that color here. And then we can pass that color down here. The problem is that's when projectile expires. That's a wee bit of a difficulty because yeah, that's a wee bit of a difficulty, but I've got an idea. Okay, so here's how we're going to address this. We're going to create a color array called colors, which will be of type color array, which will equal an empty array. And then right here, when we create the color, we're going to go into colors and then say dot push parenthesis that color. Now pushing adds it to the end. So if you read this, it says new elements to add to the array, they're added to the end. There it is. So if we come down here, we can then say, I think the easiest way to do this is going to look a little bit hacky, but if you call colors dot, there's one that removes it, and I believe it's pop or removes the last element. No, we don't want pop. We want the opposite of pop, which is reduce, shift. So shift removes the first element from an array and returns it. And because it returns it, we can actually call this method. So we are removing it from this array and passing it as a parameter all at the same time, which is just, you know, shorthand. So cool, very, very cool. No errors. Good. Let go. Clear. Let's see it one more time. World simulation on, right click, preview, play. Nice. I don't think these are rotating like I thought. They're not bad, but the rotations do seem to be flat. So I think I've got the rotations somehow off. Let's see if I can fix that. Fireworks function. We were multiplying probably backwards, so we just Control X, backspace, 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 dot multiply by random rotation, Control save, and hope that that gives us what we're looking for. And then I do want to do one last thing while we're at it, just for the sake of argument. If we hit Control C, come down here and hit Control V, and we'll call this play special projectile firework, whatever. It's a terrible name for it, but we can then say if parentheses math.random is less than 0.3, so 30% of the time, we are going to play the special firework. And then parentheses, we'll need to pass in the position and color. And then we're going to say else, curly braces. And yes, I believe I can make a special projectile firework in just 1 second. The answer is down here under special projectile, the rotation that we were creating right here took 36 times 1. If we copy that and paste it into either of these, it's going to rotate it on a completely different axis and should give us something. I guess that would be too uniform. We should do something shorter, like 18. Or maybe something higher, like 36 times 2, which would be 72. Control save. Yeah, give that a shot. Okay. So we should see a special firework from time to time. We are hopefully going to see the rotation correctly. World simulation on. Right click and preview and launch. Oh, the script's re-executed. World simulation off. Clear, world simulation on, back in, and launch. I think that was a special one. Oh. I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure. Those are really interesting. Those are really interesting. I'm not sure if it's doing what I want it to do or not. I need to set the value on the. I shouldn't have done this. I should have waited. So math.random is lower than 0.0, so now it just shouldn't play at all. We just want to see the flat ones because it looks like the flat ones are pointing down, but they shouldn't be, unless that was the special one. I'm not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure the weird one that didn't have enough projectiles is the special one. Yeah, okay, that looks right. Never mind. Maybe these are fine. Oh yeah, it definitely is on different planes. I was kind of expecting to see some of them go sideways. But I don't feel like I'm seeing that. I'm not sure why we're not seeing that, to be honest, but I've got an idea on how to fix that. We're entering the territory where I'm making mistakes and I don't know what I'm doing, so just like bear with that. Apologies. But we are going to wrap no matter what in 5 minutes, okay? So that's all we've got to finish this up. But the point was that you can very quickly adjust these numbers to create unique shapes, and I'd love for you to play with that on your own if you're following along as a tutorial, if you do, or when this releases as an asset in the future. Let's go to our regular firework here, and I think what I'm seeing feels like by multiplying on the y-axis, this is the problem. For some reason, this feels like the problem. Like it's just rotating on the Y, and therefore it's always upright. So I'm thinking we put this into all of these locations, and then we say above this, constant x mole equals, and then we do math.random. This is really shorthand, guys. So then if we check this math.random to see if it's less than 0.3, and then we put that in parentheses, we can then ask a question and say, okay, if it's less than 0.3, the x multiplier is going to be 36, else it is going to be 0. And then what we can do is say constant y multiplier is going to be asking the question, is x multiplier triple equals to 0? If so that's the question. If that's the case, then we want to return a value. Otherwise, we're going to return 0. So if it's not equal to 0, then we return 0. And then this is upset. Why is it upset? Did that right? I just haven't filled this out yet. You happy there? There you go. Okay, so now we're going to do another one of these. So we're just going to take this same line of code here, Control C, and paste that in here. But instead of doing less than 0.3, we do less than 0.5. Same thing. And then the last one is a much simpler copy paste, Control C. So now we do constant zmol equals, and then we remove this and just say it is either 36. If it's 0, then this is now 36. Otherwise, this is 0, and this is supposed to be for ymul. This is a ridiculous thing, but theoretically, I can just replace 36 with this Control C, and that should give us what I'm hoping for. I'm literally hacking this together, hoping for the best, because I screwed up the rotation math somewhere along the line, and I don't have the mental capacity to fix it. So, pretty sure this is what I'm seeing, and that's going to fix it. Okay, clear. Clear. And world simulation on. Right-click preview. There we go. Now I'm seeing what I'm looking for. Perfect. Okay, those are now firing in the directions I was hoping for and expecting. Good enough. And then we got our play special projectile, which we're now going to just change to 100% by changing this to 1. So now it's only going to play special projectile. And this one was kind of interesting because it was like missing pieces, which was weird. I think by using 72, it ended up doubling up. And I'm going to try 18 again, Control Save. I was worried that 3636 would create a diagonal, which is not a bad thing. But anyway, world simulation on, right-click, preview. Oh, it made a fan. I mean, that's not bad. That's a good thing. That's cool. Okay. We'll go ahead and change this to be called play fan projectile firework. There we go. And then now we've got two types of fireworks, and I can change that to be 0.3 again. And now we have a kind of a special firework there. Whew, done. We did it. It's good enough. It's good enough. I would love to go back and keep working on this. I probably will. I won't be doing it on stream, but when you get the final one, it'll be better. And that's all there is to it. Without further ado, guys, I gotta let you go. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining. Really great having you guys out today, this morning, this afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have fun making fireworks. There are so many more things you can do with that. Like you could do 2 intersecting fireworks. You could try launching many, many more projectiles. Those projectiles support 10 each, or excuse me, 16 each. So one theory I had is that if you take all 16 and then you launch them but do a really long firework, you could then slowly iterate the hue because each projectile has a special color. So you could have like a rainbow projectile launch, which would be really cool. You could also do a mix of colors where you launch some projectiles with red and some with blue, and like you get a nice clash. So many options. Oh, and then I was going to say you could even, when you're moving the particle effect and the sound effect up to play, you could also move a dynamic light gizmo there and then turn it on for half a second, then turn it off to create a big flash in the world. Lots of options. So, I'm going to end there. I will catch you at the next one. Bye!